We are now 168 days away from the midterms, and it was the busiest primary election day so far this midterm year. And it was one in which the president's endorsement power was again put to the test. We saw that tonight in the state of Kentucky, where incumbent Republican Congressman Thomas Massie was defeated by Trump-backed challenger Ed Galbraith. Massie served, of course, 7 terms in the House and was largely aligned with Trump for a very long time. But recently, he has been an outspoken critic of Trump's war in Iran. And you, of course, remember he partnered with Democrats to force the release of the Epstein files. The push to unseat Massie resulted in the most expensive House primary we have seen in years, which he spoke to supporters about after conceding earlier tonight.
For 14 years, those SOBs in Washington tried to buy my vote. They couldn't buy it. Why did the race get so expensive? Because they decided to buy the seat. If the legislative branch always votes with the president, we do have a king. But if the legislative branch and the representatives and the senators that serve with it always follow the Constitution, we have a republic.
There was at least one person I heard crying in the room. This defeat comes just days after Louisiana Republican Senator Bill Cassidy lost his primary to a Trump-backed candidate, in large part because of his 2021 vote to impeach the president. And there was another political bombshell earlier today. Ahead of the Texas primary next week, Trump endorsed State Attorney General Ken Paxton rather than longtime incumbent Republican Senator John Cornyn. For much more on tonight's primary results, you know who we are going to. My dear friend and partner, Ali Velshi, chief data correspondent here at MS Now, host of the show Velshi. But in just a few weeks, he's going to be sitting in this very seat because he is soon to be your anchor for the 11th hour. But until then, our friend is at the big board. Okay, Ali.
Yeah.
Another election night confirms Trump's grip on his party. Break tonight down for us.
It's kind of amazing when you look at some of the things that have happened. You just heard from Thomas Massie a couple of moments ago in Kentucky. Thomas Massie, I'm just trying to get to where he is. This is the 4th District of Kentucky. 99% of the votes in. Less than he's lost by. Oh, this thing's moving all over the place today. He's lost by 10 points to a Trump-nominated candidate. So Donald Trump, like he's shown in Louisiana with Cassidy's defeat, with those Indiana state senators, when he backs somebody, he may have very little support. He may have 30%, 30 to 37% support. But boy, he's got 100% of that 30 or 37%. So that's kind of one of the interesting things we saw tonight. We saw another few things. We saw in Pennsylvania, Josh Shapiro, again, he is unopposed. He's going to be the gubernatorial candidate, but that had some impact on Pennsylvania Democrats. We saw in Georgia, Keisha Lance Bottoms will advance to become the gubernatorial candidate. She was the mayor of Atlanta. And we saw, you see, we're resetting the board here. You also
I just want to point out, Ali.
Yeah, this is not.
Okay. I just want to point out.
Yeah.
Ali Velshi is our new chief data analyst, okay? It is one of the most difficult technical jobs we have. And my friend, my love, my partner is standing in front of a completely blank white screen. If you did not think that this man was a hero before, he's certainly a hero tonight. This is tough work you're doing.
We'll get you some pictures, but I can tell you the story even without it. Did you saw the
Oh my God, it's just getting worse. Now it's black. Now it's completely black line. Let's just make it worse.
It's a good thing this is taped. And we can fix it.
Just replay the Knicks. Okay, keep going, Ali.
So in Georgia, what's really interesting is there was a straight Supreme Court election, and they're not partisan. So you know that there's a liberal candidate and a conservative candidate, and there were 2 of these positions. In one of the cases, the conservative candidate won. In the other case, the liberal candidate is in the lead, but there's something going on in Georgia that's really interesting. I would have thought that it'd be resolved by now, and it might be in just a second when I check on what's going on here. We are waiting for I think we've got it here, Fulton County votes to come in. So let's take a look and see if we've got them right now. Fulton County, right outside of Georgia, is the one place where we've been waiting for. Yes, I've got it now. So Look at the.
God bless you,
There we
Ali
go. All
Velshi.
right. So we've got Fulton County votes in. We got 70% of the votes in Georgia. As I said, Keisha Lance Bottoms is now declared the gubernatorial candidate. Now let's take a look at this interesting Supreme Court election I was just telling you about. We were waiting to see what the results would be. 76% of the results in. Miracle Rankin, who is the liberal candidate, again, they're not ranked as Democrats or Republicans in this particular race. She's reduced her. She's reduced the amount that she's behind by about 118,000 votes. There are still a bunch of counties, all these yellow ones, we haven't seen votes in. So this one's going to be closer than we thought. The other Supreme Court race in Georgia, the more conservative candidate, who was also the incumbent, has won in that case. So this is a lot of different results all over the place in this election. The one other takeaway is in the House elections, the Democratic primary in Georgia 14. This is Marjorie Taylor Greene's old district. Sean Harris, who won and lost this in the last election, will go forward as the Democratic candidate.
He's the farmer.
He's a cattle rancher, and he's a former brigadier general. I think 30 plus, maybe 40 years in the military. So a lot of appeal to Republicans. And in the GOP primaries in the same district, Clay Fuller, who's the guy who did win that special election, he's now the member of Congress in place of Marjorie Taylor Greene. He will also be the Republican candidate going forward. The interesting thing to note is that that Sean Harris did better than you would have expected in that last election. So we wouldn't normally be talking about one of the most rural districts, most Trumpy districts in the country, having a competitive person in the Democratic candidate. So just a lot of interesting things happening around the country. But Thomas Massie has 7 more months to go as the Republican member of Congress for the 4th district in Alabama, and he is definitely going to use it all. He's going to be noisy.
But just think quickly, Ali, before we go, Thomas Massie lost tonight, but Republicans lost tonight. When you think about how much money this Trump and Trump allies were forced to spend to back his opponent, right? This not necessarily isn't just about Trump's grip on Kentucky voters. It's the amount of money that Trump and Trump allies were able to raise to ensure that Thomas Massie, who has spent the last year and a half fighting to get the Epstein files released, how much money they put behind this race to get this guy out of office.
One of the most expensive races in the history of House races. In Kentucky. Yes. So this is exactly right. Every time it's working for Trump in some instances, but it's taking a lot of money. You know, in Texas, he's just endorsed Ken Paxton over John Cornyn. The Senate would like John Cornyn, a more traditional Republican, to win that race. Donald Trump's investing in Paxton. That was one of the most expensive Senate races in history. So Donald Trump still has a great deal of control. He's still the most influential Republican in the country by a lot, and he's still having some victories, but each one, as you point out, is costing more and more money, and that's money that's not going to other candidates.
And it's working in the primaries. It's a different story come the general. Ali, thank you. And for you at home, if you use social media, send this man a post right now. Thank him for doing this work. I mean, being the chief data analyst without any data is a feat I could not complete. All right, let's get smarter with the help of our leadoff panel this evening. Jeff Mason is here, Washington correspondent and senior member of the White House and politics team at Bloomberg, where they are pretty good at data. Larry Sabato is here, director at the Center for Politics, a UVA professor and presidential historian, and Miles Taylor, former chief of staff for the Department of Homeland Security during the first Trump administration. He's also founder of Defiance.org. Larry, you know I'm turning to you first. We know that for both parties, it is the most committed voters who come out for midterm primaries. But in these most recent ones, where Trump-backed candidates raised a huge amount of money and those candidates are winning, how are you assessing what we're seeing here?
Well, the real impact is among Republicans who may have been swaying a little bit about Trump, both in the general population, but especially in public office. I mean, the message sent by Trump defeating 5 of 7 Indiana state senators and defeating a 2-term U.S. Senator Bill Cassidy in Louisiana, and now defeating Tom Massie, who has survived other challenges over the years, and he's been around a long time. The effect of all that is to basically take any Republicans in the House or Senate and other places and tell them, maybe I'd better wait to show any dissent until Trump is out of office. He is true. He's not the king of America, but he is the king of the Republican Party. They might as well rename it the Trump Party. That is what the election tells us. But it's not a new message. We've heard this for years, but every now and then you have to reinforce it, and that's what Trump has done.
Jeff, who's writing these big, big checks to push Thomas Massie out of office? These weren't Kentucky Republicans.
It's a great question. I don't know the answer to that, but it's certainly people who support President Trump. And no doubt President Trump is delighted to see that, because as Larry rightly said, this absolutely underscores the power that he continues to have over his party. I had to chuckle a little bit when he said, Larry, when you said that maybe they should change the name of the party to the Trump Party, because President Trump would probably welcome that. He likes putting his name on things. I'm sure he wouldn't object to a name change for his own party as well. But broadly, to your question, Steph, the money is coming in the same way that the votes are coming, and that's from people and from supporters who continue to see President Trump as the be-all, end-all of the Republican Party and the future of the Republican Party, even though his polling broadly with Americans, not just with his party members, but broadly with independents, with Democrats nationally, is extremely low and puts him in a vulnerable position and his party in a vulnerable position for November. But not in terms of these primaries now and in choosing the people who will be running against those Democrats, rather, in that crucial November election.